Hi everyone, Titus here for part 9 of our Blender mini-series where we model a flashbang grenade. In this video, we'll tackle the text accents around the model to give it that extra bit of detail to make it pop. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Alright, so Blender supports open type font and true type fonts, and it also has its default font type in there as well that you can use. I'll do a mix of both just to show you guys some variety. Let's go ahead and get rid of that one and bring back our original model here. Alright, and let me switch it back to studio view. Alright, so I'm going to go to the model's front view with 3, and I'm going to do a Shift A, and you can do text, and then you'll notice, you probably can't see the text, because it's off center. Let's go ahead and delete that, do Shift S, cursor to world origin. Alright, now Shift A and text. So we can come to top view and then isolate. I have a few different text accents that we're going to be doing. If you want to modify the text, you actually have to tab into edit mode, and then you can just backspace and actually type out what you want it to say. First one will be stun grenade, and I'm going to do that on 2 lines. So we can tab out, go back to object mode. I want the text centered, so we'll have to go into the text properties, scroll down, and there's a paragraph section with alignment, and instead of left, we'll just put that to center. Just like that. Now it's going to be too big. If we come out of isolation mode, it's got to fit on the front there, so let's go ahead and get it in position first. We'll grab it, rotate it in the X 90 degrees, and rotate it in the Z 90 degrees, and then we'll grab in the X and just kind of bring it in front here. So then we can go down to under transform in the text properties. We can try, instead of size 1, we can do maybe a 0.2. That's almost there, and then you can also press S for scale and just kind of bring it in right where you need it. And I actually think that looks pretty good. So go ahead and zoom out a bit. Now we need to give it some thickness. So we're going to have depth and offset, so I'm going to try 0.01, maybe 0.005. Looks a little better. And then I'm actually going to go into the extrude, and I'm going to extrude it just a tad. I think that's a bit too much, so maybe I'll do 0.005 as well. Maybe 0.004. There we go. And then we can grab it in the X, and we're just going to dig it into the top cap just a little bit. Right about there. Alright, that's our first one done. I'm going to come to top view, and I want the stun grenade to be on every other face here. So what I can do is just Shift D. I'll stay in global mode too. And then I can just hold Control and then kind of move it and position it around. Right there. Then if we come around here, we can rotate in the Z. And we can hold Control and swing it around. It should rotate around 60 degrees. Oops. A 180 minus 60 would be 120, so we'd want to do 120 here. And that should give us a perfect setting. But yeah, it looks like it does. So we just need to dig it in a bit. That's kind of hard to see with just the objects here. So let's isolate these 2 faces. Now you can modify global or local, the quick option to do that is you just grab, and if we double tap an axis, it'll switch it to local. So if I do Z twice, I'm in the local, which is a little bit easier for this type of work right here. So again, I want to move in the local axis on the X. So if I do grab and then X twice, it'll move in the local X axis. And that way I can keep it centered to its where I duplicated it from, so they're kind of both the same. Alright, come out of isolation mode there. Actually, let's grab these three and isolate all of them. Come back to top view. So the next one I want, we'll do Shift D, hold Control, and move it maybe right there. And then we'll rotate in the Z, hold Control, looks right, and that's -120, which is about right. And then if we grab XX, and then grab ZZ, that'll give us our local Z axis as well. And I just realized I don't have my screencast keys going for some reason. Alright, hopefully that'll help out. Alright, so coming back to front view, we got our stun grenade. The other, I'm going to do 2 other text accents on the top, and then I'll do 1 on the bottom, and then a couple on the actual fuse part. So I'm going to have this duplicated on the 2 sides here, but it's going to be different text. But we can come to top view with 7, Shift D for duplicate, hold Control, kind of put it in position. Rotate in the Z. That's -60, so that's the right amount. And it's going to say something different on this one, so I'm going to go tab into edit mode. And on this one, we're going to call it the M201A1. And then tab out. And then we'll grab it in the global Z, and then we'll grab it X twice in the local. And then just kind of position a little better there. Now it's not grabbing into the mesh, so we'll do that in the local Z. So grab ZZ twice. And then we can just get it just enough there. Alright, so now the next one, come back to top view, Shift D, duplicate, hold Control, kind of move it in position here. I'm gonna try right there. Then rotate Z axis, hold Control to step. And that should be increments of 60, which it is. Either negative or positive. And we will GG. And let's tab into edit mode, and let's do this one, which is, this one's going to be P/N. Maybe I'll do P/N. Enter 1888001. Alright, looks good. And we're going to dig it into the mesh, so we're going to do that in the local Z axis. So GZZ, just like that. And we'll come out of isolation mode. We're looking pretty good. Alright, so now next thing we need to do is the bottom part. So I'm going to Shift D to duplicate, lock in the global Z, just press Z once, bring it down, and right about there. Now this one, I'll tab into edit mode. Is going to be, I found something that just has a patent number on it, so we'll try US patent, and then a new line, 5.824.945. You can put whatever you want, or if you're doing this for whatever projects you're doing for, but it's nice that Blender has this option actually. It's very handy. And this should be dug in perfectly because we grabbed it from our top part, so that looks good. So now the next text that we're going to do is going to be on the fuse, but we're going to actually do an engrave on this one. So I'm not going to copy from our existing text because it already has some offsets and stuff that we don't need, or some extrusions. So we'll just do Shift A, add a new text, and we will bring it up in the Z axis. Go 7. And we will go ahead and put in our text first. So we'll tab, delete what's there. And this one is Fuse M201A1, then a new line, ME108A, and then a new line 041-027. Don't ask me what these things mean, I don't know. I just saw them on a reference image. But alright, so now we need to get the size right because that is much too big. Just like before, we'll come down and we will set our alignment to center. And then our scale, or our size, I'm gonna try 0.2. It's still too big, so I'm gonna try 0.1. It's looking pretty close. Let's go 7 for top view. We could drag it around. Maybe 0.15. Almost there. Let's try 0.14. 0.13. There we go. That looks a lot better. And maybe we just scale it down a smidge. Alright, so to engrave this, what we have to do is we have to convert it to a mesh. So we can right click, convert to mesh, and then we can tab into edit mode, select all with A. Actually, I guess before we do that, we should undo that because I forgot I was going to show you guys a different font. Alright, so we are back into a font type. So you can go into the font section and just do open. And you can download any open type fonts or true type fonts and just, double click, point to the location you save it in and just open it in Blender. And then you'll have access to that actual font type. So I think I have one here I was playing with that I liked. It was this Octon Prison. Just kind of military-ish. So it looks pretty cool. Alright, so let's go ahead and right click, convert it to a mesh now. Tab into edit mode. A to select all. And this is the tricky part. I'm going to try to get the view so you guys can see it, but we're going to press I to inset, and we're going to go pretty small, maybe right about there. And then we're going to hold Control and kind of push it down. Kind of like that. Let's bring that in isolation mode so maybe it shows up a little bit better. So now what we can do is you can right click Shade Smooth, which is going to lose a lot of the detail and give you some weird artifacting, which is kind of okay because we're going to be using this in a bake later on. So it's actually probably not going to show up. But you can also come down to your object data properties and just click on the auto smooth, and anything that is within that angle parameter will actually shade correctly for you. Come out of /. So now we just need to bring it down. So grab it in the global Z, This one is a bit tricky. You kind of want it floating just a little bit. You could use a shrink wrap modifier too, if you guys are familiar with that, but I'm gonna try it without it. Yeah, okay, so we got a little bit of dig in there. So if I grab in the Z, I don't want to go too far in because it'll actually kind of cover up, so I want it out just a little bit, just some intersection. Just enough where light hits it for the bake, because the bake will take care of any abnormalities. Because what we'll do is we'll create two models. We'll create a low poly, it's basically gonna have nothing, you know, just the general shapes, and then we'll create a high poly. And we'll just take the light matte information from the high poly, bake it to a texture map, and on the low poly, we'll attach that texture map so it'll look just like the high poly. We'll kind of fake it basically. And it's just a typical workflow you can do for a lot of video game assets, because you don't have to deal with all these triangles. Like right now we have 164,000 tries, so it's a very dense model. If you were to try to use this as a game asset, you'd have a bad time. Because there's a lot of calculation that needs to be done with that. So, but yeah. So I think this is pretty good. Let me switch it to a matte cap. Can play around with some other matte caps here. And then let's go to my camera view I set up. Maybe it needs more text on the bottom. I wouldn't know what else to put though. Kind of more, maybe more of the same. If you're making on like a particular project, like your game project, maybe you put your game logo or, you know, designer name, whatever you're gonna do. You can have fun with it. I like these matte caps. Just see what your shaders look like under different lights. It's pretty cool. Alright, good people, that pretty much concludes the modeling section of this tutorial series. So in the next video, we're going to prep the model to be exported into Marmoset to do some actual texture painting. That's more of an advanced topic, as it's probably going to cover some UV unwrapping, checking our topology, and also baking. But hopefully you found informative value in this topic that you can take into your own projects. If so, do leave a like and a comment to help grow the channel. But as always, thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and see you on the next one.